Paul, thank you for joining me, and we're at this fantastic event, and it's great to see the building and everyone here, so thank you very much for that. The talk was great, and I want to just pick your brains a little bit more about some of the issues that were raised. You were talking there about good management practices and what that means going forward, so just explain to me a little bit more about what that entails and what happens if management doesn't get on side of where it's going.
Yeah, so one of the key things about hybrid working is it's not as new as people think it's going to be. Plenty of people have been doing hybrid working. It's just we're all going to be doing it in the future. The other thing that's worth addressing is the management in hybrid working, while it's different, is not so different. The principles are still the same. Whether you're managing people or managing teams, what you really should be doing is managing by output. And that was one of the things that happened. It was a fear companies had before the pandemic, and everyone was in the office, was, well, I can see what they're doing, and they must be doing good because I can see them, therefore I'm a good manager, okay? And when we all moved to working from home, what happened is you couldn't see them anymore unless you were on a call with them. So were they actually doing any work? The reality is what happens is broadly productivity went up. So people were working, they were doing the right things, and you as a manager became happy because actually now what you were doing is what you were always taught to do at business school or your management training, which is manage people by the output. Don't micromanage them on the task, manage them on the expectation of delivery. And so what we're seeing now is the management practices that we were covering in the 80s at business school, perhaps even before, are now coming back onto the fore. So are you agreeing the objectives with your associates? And if you are you getting out of the way and letting them get on with it? And if they're not able to, are you enabling them to do that? And that's really the management practice that we're going to see come back to the fore for all managers in all companies as a part of hybrid working.
Yes, and the most important output is the best measure of what we're talking about at the end of the day. It's the best way to do it. How do you get through to those CEOs who might be a little bit set in the old ways and they want everyone in 9 to 5? I want to see you working. The risk of losing talent and everything like that. How do we kind of educate them a little bit more into that?
So there is the fear of the Great Resignation. Some of that's pent up because there is a natural attrition and turnover you have in staff, and we've got to accept that's going to happen. But this is a bit more fundamental than that. This is organisations that potentially, or even leaders potentially, who will not see that the world has definitely changed. We've now, as I've mentioned before, we've now tasted a new happiness. We've experienced what it is to work in home, and actually on the whole, we've delivered us in doing that. So what's not to like? Well, what's not to like for some people is I can't see you. I feel I'm not in control. I feel that, in fact, I'm not seeing the output that I was expecting. And the output I was expecting was everyone together and creating noise together. Those are the wrong metrics. Now it's not to say that there isn't a time for people to be in the office. I'll give you an example of when everyone should be in the office is when there's a major change initiative, there's a crisis in an organization. There's a good time for people to all be in the office together because decisions are made real time. There's a spontaneity of a debate and discussion, and there's consensus to be reached. And those may well be times that, yes, it's right to have everyone in the office. So the time and a place. On the whole, however, you don't need that. You don't need people to be in the office. Now, what's going to happen to the leaders who are saying, I want people back in the office and I want them at 100%? That's probably what they feel is right. Over time, they'll come to see that actually things weren't so bad in the home working environment, so pre-hybrid. What they'll also see is staff have a choice. And that choice may result in them leaving. It may result in that leader not being able to recruit the key talent. And once you have those trade-offs to make, then the discussion will move on to potentially a more meaningful conclusion, which is actually people have a diversity of desires. You have to match those diversity of desires based on what you want to get out of your organization. And I think we'll see the pendulum, on one hand, for those individuals may be 100% in the office, coming back a little bit more to, there's a better compromise because everyone's going to win out of this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I 100% agree. And it's that time element, isn't it? We have to wait and see. As was said in the talk, we don't have the post-COVID results yet. We just got to go on the journey together. So, but speaking of survey elements, obviously you guys have released a survey with great stats that have came out.
Thank you.
What part of it interested you the most, or kind of surprised you the most that you saw and would like to address the most?
Yeah, the thing that was really startling to me was just how much people were concerned about noise in the workplace. It shouldn't have been a surprise, but the reality is people do not like noise in the office. They don't like it at home, and it's not to say the home was a perfect environment, because in that research that you talked to, 34% of people told us that noise was an issue for them in their home working as well. So noise is there. It tells me that we're still very sensitive to noise and the distraction that it brings. It stops our ability to concentrate and get on and deliver what we want to deliver. So when we did the research, it told us people were concerned about it coming into the office, to the point where some people actually voiced concerns about potentially noise rage. 42% of people told us they may be susceptible to that. I mean, it's such a visceral response to the problem you have of distraction caused by others. And so to me, what it means is businesses really need to be thinking about, how do you make sure that your work environment is supportive to success, meaning how do you manage noise? And there's things that you can do. I mean, there's straightforward things that you can do. You can manage the environment. So you can do things like you can manage, the acoustic shields. You can manage, how noise propagates. But you can also use technology, and that's really interesting, because when you start using technology to manage noise, you're no longer potentially sticking to one location. It can be following with you. And I'll give you an example where that is. We make a headset that, as well as producing sound that you can hear when somebody talks to you and allowing you to transmit to them, also listens to the background that you're sitting in. And if it's noisy, it will remove the noise. Amazing. So it cancels it. That active noise cancelling allows you to then have some control. So noise is a big issue for individuals coming back into the office, and lo and behold, any facilities manager or even chief executive doesn't recognise this is something we need to manage if we want our staff to come back into the office and be productive when they're there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I might be in that 42% because it can get distracting and you want to focus up. So kind of final question here. Obviously, we're coming back into the office, and people have kind of adjusted their thought process and how they enjoy work and what they need to do. How do we best accommodate the office from a culture perspective, from a personality perspective, and really make it a harmonious environment versus just a blanket, you're all our employees, that's all we need to know about you?
So first thing to say is many offices had already evolved. So the old Taylorist principle of lines of desks were sitting there like production workers. Actually, it was based on production line thinking at the time. Should be banished. They shouldn't be existing anymore, because the office is much more about collaboration. Look, most people want to come back into the office, and based on the individual, because there's a variety of choice. Some people are saying they want to work from home 1 day a week. Some people are saying at least half the time they want to work from home as well. So you're going to have to be able to accommodate that. You're going to have fluctuating presence in the office. But when people do come into the office, it's because they want to do things that they can't really do as well at home. Why do I say that? Well, they've got to make some investment. They've got to make some investment in commuting. Nobody wants to commute. So if you're going to go into the office, you've got to get something out of it you wouldn't get by staying at home. So when you look at it from that perspective, you have to ask yourself, so what is it that I do in the office that I can't do quite as well at home? Concentrate, communicate, collaborate, contemplate. Some of those things, the concentration, you can do at home. You don't need to go into the office to achieve those. Collaboration is a big thing. It's why people really want to go into the office. When we looked at our research, what we found was typically people want to go back to the office. It's for business reasons, but it's also interpersonal reasons. It's being together with others, and that might be the creative process for the business. It might well be. just to catch up with colleagues and feel a sense of emotional connection. So as offices are now being redesigned for the hybrid working, it's about making sure that we're facilitating collaboration. Now, what's interesting is not all of the people will be in the office all of the time. So that collaboration facilitation in the office has to recognize some of the people you collaborate with, not them all, but some won't actually be in the office. They'll still be at home because that day's the day they've got something they want to do, more about concentration, and they want to participate a bit with you in collaboration. So what organizations then have to do is they then have to facilitate a quality of participation, whether you're in the office collaborating with others who are there, or with people at home. You're sitting at home, you want to be an equal participant. You don't want to be a second-class citizen because you're not physically there. So, and that's where technology can come in, play a part, making sure that if you're a participant in a collaboration meeting and you're in a meeting room in an office, you have the same equity of experience as if you're sitting at home and vice versa. And that's really the challenge now for businesses, utilizing technology so that you have the equality of experience to all associates wherever they are, and they get to collaborate and participate in the creation of value for the company.
Exactly, striking that balance. And Paul, thank you for talking to me about all of this. I feel like you and me are going to have another chat maybe 12 to 18 months from now to see if this is all correct, but thank you for talking to me.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet with you. Thank you.